Dan is with me. That must have been quite an experience to visit that place. Trying very hard to do their best, but it looks like they're really not able to cope with the number of children they've suddenly been presented with.
Yeah, it's questionable about whether an institution like that is even the right place for the people who are there already, never mind those that are incoming. And the level of disability is significantly different. They have taken in more children. Their staffing was already struggling to keep up with the need. They don't have the right equipment, the right skills, the right experience, arguably to even look after the children they've got, never mind those that they're taking in. Of course, they're to be applauded for doing the right thing with these children facing real uncertainty and potential
Rather than just turning them
absolute
away.
abandonment. Yeah. The director said to me, I would be an enemy of my people had I not taken these children in. But there is a legitimate question about what level of care he can provide, whether he can look after these children's needs, and therefore what on earth their future will be. He is expecting that they'll be with him in that institution for the rest of their lives. Now, what is that going to look like if he isn't really able to give them the care that they need?
What's the organisation that you were talking to there who've done this research saying? What's their judgment of the best approach that could be adopted to this? Because this, I mean, there are lots of things one could talk about. You know, you could talk about evacuating these young people out of their country altogether to other countries. Is that what they think should happen?
That has happened to some disabled children, and you could argue that the war has potentially improved their chances and the care that they may receive. It's not what anyone would want, of course. They ought to be able to stay in their own country.
It's kind of lifted a lid on it, exposed it a bit more internationally.
Of course, absolutely. Disability Rights International, the organisation who carried out this research, this investigation, their intention is to prompt action on two levels, really. They want an immediate response from the big charities, the NGOs that are helping Ukrainian children as refugees, but haven't, in their view, made it through to these children who are hidden, who are forgotten, who are ignored. They want that support to increase, for money to get through, so that the care and the staffing, the provision in those sorts of institutions can be improved. But longer term, they think these institutions across the country, no matter how good they are, how well equipped they are, ought to be abolished, that those children really need the one-on-one care, the specific love and attention of a family. Now, that may be a laudable aim, but where on earth are you going to find families who are able to take on the needs of a disabled child at a time of war, when families right across Ukraine are being made homeless, are being refugees, are separated even within families, never mind able to take on some other care. So it's a really tricky subject. It's a long-term systemic problem, as well as the added crisis that the war has brought to this situation.
When you were talking to the director of that institution, you said his expectation is these children could be there with them now for the rest of their lives. Nobody knows how long those lives may be, because that would depend on individual conditions. But what was your impression of that institution? Do they have access to reliable power supplies, to food, to water, all those things? Or are those two already under threat?
That institution is in a safe part of the country for now. Yep. It's not come under attack. They haven't suffered the direct effect of the war yet, but who knows when that may change. So in essence, it is a safe place. It's away from the fighting. It's what needed to happen as an immediate response to what's happening and the threat that these orphanages, these children's homes were under in the East. But then it does become about, well, how long are these children going to stay there, and what does that mean for their development, for their future? Disability Rights International says that the children simply won't live as long as they should if they are contained like that. They won't grow. You saw how young those children look. They are already underdeveloped for their age.
Just remind people, you said it in your report, just to be clear, for people perhaps who didn't fully take it in while they were listening and watching, these kids are teenagers, aren't they, most of them?
All the ones in that footage are at least 13, 14, right, maybe 15, 16, 17, and yet you would not put them at more than 5, 6, 7 at most. That is the impact of the restriction of their development so far from having been institutionalised, probably from birth. What further issues are they going to face if they're not able to thrive, to flourish, to live with the proper care and support they need? It's such a sad, heartbreaking situation, and the message is that everybody really, right across the board, has neglected these children, has overlooked their situation and their needs.
Dan Johnson, thank you very much.